Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Drawing Down the Stars. I'm Snappy. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today on June 19th, Wednesday, for our live tarot session. So let's give a shout out to the chat. Hi, Valerie. Thank you for coming. Mother Rhea, Carrie, it's great to see you. Graham, always a pleasure. And of course, Beatnik Bulb is serious. Great to see you. Pleasure that you're all here. Thank you guys for joining me today. This is beautiful. I'm excited. So I wanted to begin with a passage from a book that I pulled out. I was thinking a lot about Ludwig Klages today and some of this kind of philosophy about returning back to this idea of like the primitive, or going back to these places of our roots, and trying to really do that kind of process of seeing the past in a new light and take this information and bring it into our present. And there are a couple passages here that I did a sword taste that came to me that I wanted to read. And one says, "What in cosmic terms is represented by the orbits of the stars, the changing of the moon phases, of seasons, of night and day, in the course of each individual life, is perceivable in the changing picture of a plant. It germinates from the seed, goes through various periods of growth and development to finally end again in the seed, thus in withering, arriving at the point from which it began." The point here is to recognize the cosmic in the present, right? Makes me deeply think of that profound hermetic axiom, right? That which is above is the same as that which is below. And there was another really beautiful line where he's talking about the Pelasgian worldview. The Pelasgians, right? These are the ancient descendants of the Greeks, sort of the proto-Greeks, the earliest people in the Greek peninsula. And he says, Klages, "The Pelasgian view sees the world as the result of a birth or the hatching of a cosmic egg. The earth, like a mother, has given birth to everything, and again, the earth takes all existing things back into its darkness. She signifies the maternal womb and is also the tomb. All she has produced, symbolically the entirety of the world. She signifies the tomb, which is simultaneously the maternal body and crib of life germinating anew." Just this beautiful idea, right? The duality of these images. And I want everyone to remember these things, because there's always a duality to these things. For every savior, there is a devil, For every mother, there is a father. And for every cosmic, there is a limited. There is an infinitely small for an infinitely big, right? Womb tomb duality. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that amazing? Right? The magna mater is the focal point of life, because both poles of life meet in her. For this reason, in her various appearances, she takes the role of both the aged woman and the eternal young girl. Anna Perenna, older than Kronos, time itself, still appears annally as spring and woos Mars. Feronia is known as both Mater and Juno Virgo. Ephesians worshipped at the temple of the Virgin Mother Goddess, the prime creatrix, the goddess Diana. Right? Wow. Really profound imagery and just a beautiful thing to think on, for those of us who are pursuing and interesting in sort of this goddess perspective, right? And I just wanted to share that with you, because it just is something that deeply impacted me, and I highly recommend, Klages is quite the controversial figure in modern times, but I recommend reading him. This is a really amazing book. It's called Chthonic Gnosis. You can get it from, I believe it's called Theon Press. They do a lot of really good, highly academic, magical occulted texts, but also some practical magical guides. And this is like a real deep dive into Ludwig Klages that tries to explain his philosophy. And it's a great, great introduction. Beautiful book. So let's do the sortes. Well, actually, before we get into sortes, we should talk astrology. I'm getting ahead of myself because I was just thinking about what book I wanted to bring for you all, and I saw that book. I hadn't opened it in years, and then bam, Mother Goddess right there in my face. So, I had to dive in. So, the moon energy is the big shift today for astrology. And this is really interesting. It really also connects to my meditation. It seems like I really tend to match with the moon in my thoughts, and it really infects these kind of readings. So what we've seen is that the moon is now moving into Sagittarius. This is really interesting energy because Sagittarius is this fiery, passionate energy, but it's also mutable, right? It also goes with the flow. So, like, what I get from this is like, this is an energy of going on a spiritual journey, right? Of connecting deep to that profoundness in yourself and then going on a campaign for like justice, right? Going on a campaign to transform your reality, going on an adventure, right? Telling to me too, this is also about admitting to yourself and to others deeply uncomfortable truths. This is a time to really reflect upon that deep internal self and expose it to the light, that fiery light, right, of Sagittarius. And this energy is really exposing energy. It opens everything up. It shines a light into those dark places and allows you to see the truth. It's also important in this is about this is that energy of being in this place of defending, right? Of taking a stand, of focusing on our foundations and being in those foundational energies. So much about building and being in this state of growth is establishing these core values and then building upon them. But you have to always maintain that core. You want to bring everyone in and you want to accept love and kindness and you want to be changed by others, but to a degree. There is a core that needs to be established. There's a core self that you have to work towards, to see, to know. This is why what's written on the walls of Eleusis is know thyself. You have to know and establish this core. And then you build upon that. And once you have this core, you must defend it, right? You must protect it and you must stand by these ideals that you have established for yourself. You want to be in flux too. You want to be able to expand, but there is a core base that should be reflected upon, that is your filter, right? That's what sustains you. And for me, it's that great mother. It's this primordial cosmic cyclical view. It's seeing the universe in the plants, right? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. So I was also talking to a good friend of mine, Neil, Gnostic Informant, and he was sending me some really interesting things that I wanted to share with people about Dionysus. And this is a big shout out to Beatnik Bulba. He'll love this. So this is from a book about Dionysus. I can't remember, Neil didn't tell me what it is, but the chapter is called The Cretan Core of the Dionysus Myth. And it goes, at Gnosis, we find the name Iwako, whose Greek reading can be Iako, Iakis, or Iakis. At Gnosis and Pylos, it often takes the form of Iwaka or Iakar, a name for Sirius, the dog star, that seems utterly alien to the Greek language, but may not really have been so foreign. An Egyptian story can be cited in the connection with the Minoan name Iakar and Iakos. Iakin or Iakim was the name of a wise and pious man in Egypt who allegedly lived under King Senes. This man may have also been a divine figure. He was said to have softened the fiery power of Sirius at its early rising, and thus to have wiped out the epidemics and diseases that raged at the time. After his death, he was buried in a temple tomb, and when the appropriate sacrificial rites had been completed, the priests took the fire from his altar and carried it about in an apparent magic ritual directed against the destructive fire of the star. Isn't that wild? connecting to this dog star and about this magic of drawing down the star and connected to this magical magi tradition. That's how old this Iakos Bacchus connection goes. Iwaka, right? Just so much fun. There was another cool thing I wanted to share with you guys that Neil sent me from the same book. It says here, the figure's name, which comes from the same root as the two Minoan proper names, probably took its definitive form, Iakos, from the insistent cry that was repeated in processions of ritual. There can be no question of a deification of the cry alone. For the Greeks, Iakos had two characteristics. His name was called loudly in endless repetition, and he was the light bringer. Wow. The torchbearer. In the figure of Iakos, Dionysus' connection with light and fire was preserved. Fire is a Dionysian weapon, says Lucian. The Bacchantes were capable of carrying fire in their hair, it says so in Antigone of Sophocles. The chorus calls out, who leads the round of the fire-spraying stars to cure the sick city of Thebes? None but Iako. It might have been invoked to a true star in the sky in such terms, but it invokes him as Iakos, the keeper of treasures, who knows where the treasures are buried. So for those with ears to hear, this is wild. So I will ask Neil to clarify what the text is. I'm not 100% sure. He just sent it to me, and he's on live right now, so he can't respond. But serious, I'll send you a PM. But, you know, Iacchus is the dog star. Isn't that wild? And he's the light bringer. You know, he sets a fire to all of this, right? And he cures diseases. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Just really interesting stuff. And it makes me think of a really famous line from Frogs. And I pulled it up for you guys. It goes, kindles the flaming torches, brandishing one in each hand. Iako, Iako, the light-bringing star of the nocturnal mysteries. Right? Beautiful. So that was interesting. Just some fun there I wanted to share with you, since we all love uncovering and exploring these mysteries of Dionysus and such. So now let's do some sortes. Let's do some sortetic magic. So we're going to go back to Ludwig Klages and chthonic gnosis. So for those of you unfamiliar, the sortes is a form of bibliomancy, that is divination through literature. This comes out of the Greco-Roman tradition and evokes the goddesses, the muses, divine beings of inspiration to guide our hand. And we take a line out of context and we read it and we interpret it in our own lives to grant us a message. So let's see. What is the message from the muses? Guide my hand, send us inspiration, guide us in flow. How do we best move forward? What does Klages have to teach us? Oh, wow. Klages' admiration of the primitive and of the tribal becomes most evident in the final part of his main work, where he deals with the Pelasgian worldview. Right? This is so essential, and anyone who's really connected with the Ammon work will know this. You got to go back to the earliest version of these things, and it all begins in the Greek world with the Pelasgians. And there's so much to be gained from this, returning to this primal, early Bronze Age sort of perception. And we can really look to these people and take that information, do that necromantic work, and bring it into our present and use it to define and redefine our future, right? Yeah, the Pelasgians is the origin of Medea, right? It's the origin of all of this Greek magic that we are all so enamored by. So that's a beautiful message from the sortes. Return back to the simple, to the early ancestors. Go back to our roots. Where does the Greek come from? It comes from the Pelasgian, right? We're going to go back to In Tune with the Infinite. This is such a fun book. Ralph Waldo Trine, magician, mystic, new thought proponent. I'm not a huge fan, but this is a special book because this book is annotated by Harry F. Given. Really interesting person who pours his heart and soul into the pages of this book, right? Giving us so much additional thought. And it really turns this book into a profound magical piece for me, you know? So let us ask the muses to guide our hand. What is the message? How do we best move and flow? What can we learn from Ralph Waldo Trine and from Harry F. Given? Muses, what is the inspiration? It is man that is in the image of God. It is man that is in the image of God. Wow. So when I think about this, right, it's this idea that we have to recognize the duality of these things, that God and man are one, right? As above, so below, right? I also think of like Ibn Arabi in that there's this beautiful Sufi image, which is everyone recognizes that the drop merges into the ocean, but seldom do we consider that the ocean also merges with the drop. You know, it's this duality of forms and this connection, right? And this is so much clear in a lot of the magic. You have to ascend the throne. You have to embody that authority, right? Really interesting. Okay, let's continue. So this is another book that I've been having fun with. Gurdjieff is such a interesting character, right? A Pontic Greek from Armenia who lived in Russia, wrote in Russian, who was deeply profound mystical teacher, a dancer, a musician, really interesting, created his own sort of methodology that he called the Fourth Way. He also worked deeply with P.D. Ouspensky, a really important philosopher who really made Gurdjieff's stuff kind of flow and gave it a lot of gravitas. But we're going today to his book, Gurdjieff's book, Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson. This is wild stuff. This is the kind of stuff that scares people away because Gurdjieff purposely writes fan fiction drivel. At least that's how it is meant to appear on the surface, right? This is a magical story about Beelzebub, the demon, who is actually an alien traveling across the universe with his son Hussein to learn about the three-brained beings, humanity. It's like, on one level, it is utter nonsense, and on another level, it is all and everything, as Gurdjieff claims, right? The idea is to explore the mythic images to their depths, to move beyond that superficial image, to move beyond your personal judgment, to see beyond the silliness. And it's also this reminder that the images have to be recreated into the present, into the now, ever revitalized, ever reformed. Gurdjieff was a magician. He was purposely trying to create an image that would be defined of his time and his place in the 30s, in the 20s, when this kind of stuff was new and weird. And this merging of the sci-fi was really profound. So it's a lot of fun. So let's ask the muses. There's also a lot of made up nonsense words in here and stuff to confuse. A lot of cones, right? It's interesting. So let's ask the muses, guide my hand. What is the message? How do I best move and flow? What can we take from Gurdjieff? What is the inspiration? All right. But this is Egypt. Was not its magnificent still quite recent though? But this is Egypt. Was not its magnificence still quite recent though? Isn't that a beautiful line to take in conjunction with our Pelasgian? Where's our foundation? It's not in Egypt. It's older than Egypt. This is about going to those mother goddess roots, that primal Venus figure from the Paleolithic even, right? We're going back. We're going way back. Egypt is not enough. Was not its magnificence still quite recent? Beautiful, interesting. All right, let's continue. We're going to go to Euripides. What's the message, Euripides? Tragedy and playwright extraordinaire. What can we learn from Euripides? Muses inspire us. How do we best move and flow? And if I forget dear Hector and open my heart to my present lord, I shall seem a traitor to the dead. On the other hand, if I cherish Hector's love, I shall get myself hated by my lord and master. Wow. And if I forget dear Hector and open my heart to my present lord, I shall seem a traitor to the dead. On the other hand, if I cherish Hector's love, I shall get myself hated by lord and master. What a conundrum and what a place to be, you know? And this is something that so many of us are going to deal with, these connections to people and to loyalty, connections to ideas, binds, right? You marry someone, you are bound to them. You're bound to that image. But the key here is this love, to be able to move in love, right? We can't allow things to stop us from loving. And we have to be able to move and flow and adapt to our changing circumstances. You know, binds can only exist in time. And when people pass on, these binds change. They're not broken, but they transform. You know, it takes on a different color. And it's important to understand this, right? Like there's so much love for people to give, and we all love so many people. And each of us has to connect with reality in its many different forms. And that could be, in one sense, a specific partner, but it could also be with community in different ways, you know? Love is a powerful, powerful thing. And there are many levels, many ways, many formations. It's not simply anything, right? Seeing beauty and being in love is a deep, profound thing. And love is always the answer. You cannot hold yourself to binds, to something that is no longer present, to something that doesn't serve you. Love learns to adapt and move and flow. It continues to love. It has to. It has to be in the present, right? Wow. Wow. Interesting imagery, you know? And this is the question that people ask. Does the great mother not love those who came from the past or other things, you know? But, you know, cycles change. Things change. We are not permanent, right? Love has to rise above the impermanence and has to accept the transformation, right? Yeah, you move and flow or you suffer, right? To bind yourself is to suffer. And this is one thing that a lot of people need to recognize. Religion is to bind, to hold yourself to a law. Now, I'm not saying don't do this at all, but be careful about what you bind yourself to. Be certain of these things, you know, because binds hold you to account. You're now bound in time. You now cannot adapt in the same way you could, right? And that could be good or that could be bad. It depends on what you're after. What are you doing? What are you trying to achieve? What is your goal, you know? Because I always think about that story of, you know, what's his name in the Bible? Samson. I'm sure there's an earlier Greek one, but I'm more familiar with Samson. And the thing with Samson that I think about, the tragedy of the Samson story, is that he is doomed to die fighting in God's war, right? Yeah, he gained the strength, but what is his end? He is blinded and tortured, sent to work in a temple, and then he dies doing what? Destroying something. Destroying the seed of someone else, another god, desecrating a holy place, attacking and existing in warfare, right? That's what happens if you bind yourself to something. Yeah, maybe you get some power for a period till someone comes and takes it from you, right? Or until you're forced to exercise that power in the will that was given to you. Genocide, in this case. Right? So be very careful. Be very careful. Again, right? Some binds can be beautiful, loving marriage, right? And if you truly want to connect to a deity, but you know, and think about these bonds of Christianity, right? Think of these bonds of anything. I think it's so much more important to try and learn to adapt and be in flow. The mother goddess, right? She doesn't want stagnation. She wants you to adapt. She utters but one command: adapt or die. All right. Let us continue. We're now going to go to our fairy cards, our fairy guidance. So we're just going to ask the muses, what's the message? How do we best move and flow? What do we take? All right. What do we take and move forward? What is the inspiration? Life energy. Happy fairy of sunshine brings lots of life-giving energy. She reminds you to shine your light and to reveal anything in the shadows that needs to be healed, right? This is so perfect for that moon in Sagittarius energy. We're shining a light into our deep emotional past, and we are looking to heal, to expose. Okay, now is the time to really think about these things. When people come on to you and they tell you something that they believe is an emotional truth, if they're trying to help you in these kind of ways, if they're trying to reveal, take this for what it is. This is that life energy coming in and trying to help, trying to shine a light into these dark places. And we all need to go through these spiritual transformations and to take these lessons in stride, whether they come from us or they come from outside, right? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful energy. And it connects too to that torch-bearing Dionysus, the Iako, right? Now, one who shines the light and shows us the way, how to move and flow and reaffirm life, to generate, be creative, you know, to persist in spite of the transformation. So now let us continue. We're going to move to our tarot proper. So as always, I'm going to use the tarot of Lady Frida Harris and Crowley. And we're going to do the Saturn Square tarot. So we're going to cut ourselves up, divide our life and put it on the plate, see where the connections lie, and ask the muses, how do we best move and flow? How do we do what we're meant to do? What are the lessons that we need to learn, and how do we best evolve? All right, let's see. We cut our deck into 3. The middle card is always the most important. So let us see. Disappointment. Wow. This is really a revealing energy for this kind of moon in Sagittarius, right? It's a really revealing energy for this, because this is about us having that emotional disappointment, seeing that maybe partially it could be true, partially it could be a perception, but there is this experience that our cups are empty and there's disappointment. We're not being emotionally supported in the ways that we need to feel that emotional support. Or we are also being drained. This is also a reality of being drained, you know, of giving out love and then not receiving enough love back, right? People are draining your cups. So there's this emotional disappointment at this point. There is kind of a change a bit, and there's a feeling of lack. Right. So what is causing this? What is causing this kind of it's not the worst kind of disconnection. We still have our cups and whatnot, but there is this energy of waste. And there is a deep disappointment about being taken for granted from and not being heard. So let us see where this is going. We saw this gentleman just the other day. This prince energy, this immature energy of the person who wants to come and transform all of reality immediately, right? This is what's disappointing. This is really hard energy to deal with, because this is a person who thinks they know everything and wants to shake things up and build something new, but it's like they're a bull in a china shop, you know? They can't see how hard it was to get where we are. They can only see the flaws. This is a lot of young man energy, you know, a lot of like inability to really see the forest for the trees, right? This is that young anarchist who comes and says, revolution, set it on fire, without any plan of where to go once the fire's clear. You know, it's like, geez, we spent thousands of years building that. Would have been nice to keep it. You know, So we got to be careful of this energy, but this is also hopeful energy. It could go another way, right? This is that same energy where that person could build up and become that knight, right? This is an energy where that person can go either way. They're in this building mode where they want to transform. So are they going to help you build the city? Are they going to help you defend the walls and maintain the ramparts? Or are they going to be the one on the outside with the cannon? This is where we're going, right? And there's disappointment here because I feel like, yeah, this energy is not meshing with this community at this moment. Let's see. Okay. All right. Isn't this kind of wild to see? What is this here? What this is about is that even though there is this incredible disappointment that's brought on by this new energy coming in, this is calling you to turn back to that foundational energy. There is an extreme abundance here. There is love to give. There is community here. There is a coming together. There is a shared relationship. There is this strong support network. And here's the thing, there is love to give. Why are these cups empty? If there's charity here, if there's the ability to share, we need to be sharing, shouldn't we? There's something here. There's a blockage here. This community is not being able to invest in this way, but there's also, it's a mixed bag. So we got to try to figure out a way to flow together and to expand, right? But it's also important that we recognize that there is this incredible, loving, strong, foundational energy. And it is so strong and it is so united. It has love to give, but it's also this energy of completion, right? Everyone is here. We don't need no people in the group, right? We'll share with you, but you don't get to come to this upper echelon. That's the issue with this energy. We have to be careful, right? Because this is a completed energy. We have our family unit is solidified. Even though we're sharing with you, there is a defining line. So we got to be careful of this disappointment, and we want to transform this because this could really rock this foundation. Let's see where this is going. Okay. Interesting. Wow. All about emotions, all about water today. Water and earth is all we got. So for the next row, the top row, right? This is about new loving energy coming in. So what I'm seeing here is a new perception about these relationships, a new way to connect and to share. This is a new cycle. So this cycle, actually, this Sadie, it's closing out. And we're seeing a reformation so that this new energy can come in. So this is really beautiful. So it is difficult in this moment. There is a lot of expectation. There is a lot of this energy of give it to me all now. I want in, I want in, I want in, I want in, I want in. And this energy is like, well, we're giving you something. That should be enough. But we're seeing a shift here where there is going to be a new cycle. This energy is done, right? And it's not that this abundance is going away. This abundance is now going to be shared. That's beautiful. And it's not that this abundance wasn't being shared here, but it's like it was being doled out in a charitable sense, right? This energy is not welcoming people into the upper echelons. This energy is everyone can drink from this cup. Let's continue. All right. Wow, strife. What is causing this approach? What is causing this deep reflection about how we connect to others and how we work in community is this strife, conflict. This is about, and it's about this balance too between maintaining this kind of flow, how we deal with extremes, how we deal with passionate emotions, right? How we learn to operate between these 2 points. To me, this seems like, to put it plainly, overly emotional, fiery, political BS, This is people taking stands on either side on in the back, right? But the pull in the center is the pull in the center. You got to try to see both sides. There's a lot to be thought of in many different regards. And the reality is of a community has to be about compromise. It has to be about building in the now. You know, these extreme ideological positions that people take tend to hurt us, and we have to, but at the same time, you know, we have to maintain those cores. It's such a balance. It's such a difficult balance to maintain, you know, and it's always a learning. So let's see where this is going, right? The key to all of this, to solving this, is to stay reasoned, to be in that reasonable mindset. Yep, to rise above the fray and to trust in this kind of balanced thinking approach, to try and see everything and take them all, right? You're taking all perspectives into consideration, and they're here to form a theory, right? In the scientific methodology, right? Everyone contributes until you get to an ever more refined and correct answer. This is very difficult energy, though, to manifest too, because like we also have to be worried about things like the academy and the ivory tower, right? The science can create barriers, right? Even as it provides understanding. So we still have so much difficulty. This is going to be such a deep learning, right? How do you balance this reason with this new loving energy, these new relationships that are coming in, and with this strife that is inevitably going to rise, right? Strife always comes in with different opinions, and you have to be able to move and flow with this. And the key here, what I'm seeing, is taking that reasoned approach, seeing people's different perspectives, connecting it to these core fundamental beliefs in the center here, right? And using those core foundational beliefs as your contrast and to keep you in the center. All right, let's continue. Yeah, there's this swift strife energy is coming in. It's coming in quick and it's coming in strong, right? This passionate energy, what I'm seeing is a lot of, you know, it's a lot of people who are on these spiritual quests. This is very indicative of this moon in Sagittarius energy. This is going on a journey. This is that fiery pursuit. I want it now. I want to know the secrets. What does this mean? What's going on, right? But this is an energy that burns out quick, and you got to be careful of. But at the same time, since it burns out quick, if you can maintain, it will go away. So you can. What we want to try to do is use this to our advantage or defend ourselves from it. Let's see where this is going. Wow. Yeah. Death. There's an end of a cycle here. There's an ending, and we all see it coming. You know? What I see here is this is about becoming more mature, taking responsibility, you know, ending an old way and adapting to a new. Death is never, it's not as horrible as people think, right? This is the reality that everything has to come to a foundational end. Everything has to finish its cycle. Death is, you see this coming. You know it. You know it. So look to your life. What needs to end? What do you need to move away from? Right? What is coming? What are you trying to get out of? Right? It is going to bring this deep, drastic transformation, of course, right? But this has also been building to this point. It's not like the tower that comes out of nowhere, right? Wow. And this is coming quick, this transformation. So this is really about really taking this point to be in this change. We have to be able to flow in this change and take this on, you know, and learn to survive this coming. Wow. Let's see where this is going. What this is about this futility energy. Not being able to see a way out. So almost this death has been made an inevitability because of our inability to act. Right? It's like, you know, in many ways, I like to think of death, right, as that energy that's stalking behind you, ever creeping. It's got a knife and it's coming forward. It's coming forward. It's coming forward. And it eventually is going to catch up to you. And most of the time we just ignore it and pretend it's not coming. Pretend it's not coming. It's futile. It's futile to run. We can't escape it. We can't move away from it. But if you just don't do anything, if you stay in this futile energy, that it will come up to you. It will catch up to you. The rug will be pulled. And sometimes this futility energy is about embracing that change too. This is about, sometimes you need to go through these extreme moments. You need to suffer. And there's a self-sabotage element too, right? So we got to consider this. This is really intense energy. It's dealing with a lot of this communal conflict and trying to balance ideals and morality and trying to bring people together in flow, which is not an easy prospect at all, right? So let us continue here. I'm going to tilt the camera down, but before I do that, please take a minute and give me a like and subscribe. It really does help. And every like does really boost the algorithm. It makes a difference, and it's good karma. Send me a little blessing, please. It really is helpful. And if you are interested, you can send me an email or reach to me on the Myth and Lore Discord. My email is snappydts@gmail.com. I do private tarot readings. We can discuss price and everything. Just send me an email or a message on Discord. So thank you all for listening to my little diatribe. I really do appreciate that. I know those are weird. So let us continue here. We got now our top-down reading first. So we're going to start with this side. And we have this immature energy, that young man energy who wants to really build something and change. Interesting. This young man is going through that death energy, right? This is changing. This strife is changing. This is kind of a positive kind of change here, because what I'm seeing is that this kind of energy is going to both kind of stop coming in as much to the community, but it's also that energy that has come in is going to go through these profound transformations. And it's a result of these conflicts, of having their positions challenged and moving in balance, right? So some of us are showing up as this energy. You will know who you are, and you will recognize that maybe there is a transformation and a balance that needs to come in, and it has to come in as a difficult change, right? This is a very immature energy, and sometimes, young men especially, that young, outgoing, willful energy, it needs to get knocked in the head before it learns the lesson. Doesn't matter how many times you tell them, But when they do learn the lesson, the stubborn Taurus energy, they learn the lesson. And they become that responsible person. They need the hard knocks, right? So let's continue. All right. We got our disappointment, right? Our center card, the most important card, connected to this swift energy, right? This is energy coming in. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of passion that's flowing in. And there's a lot of new love that's coming in. But it is resulting in disappointment because there's a lot of negative emotional energy. There's a lot of passionate energy, and there's a lot of taking, asking and not giving, and this is always hard for people, right? We want to be that loving mother, that Queen of Cups who's able to nurture, but can you nurture if your cup is empty, right? And then when we go here, this is interesting. Here is the fundamental, I think. This is the defining question. We have that core community group that loves each other, that sustains each other, that has love to give, that has come to this completion through trial, through tribulation, through profound growth. Now, you can stay in the feudal energy and say, well, we can't invite people in. No one is ever going to be able to learn this or participate or grow or to come in and help. This is feudal energy. I can't teach people. They're never going to understand. That's one approach. Or you take the approach of the reasoned teacher. You listen to their perspectives and you reflect it against that core teaching. And you always bring everything back to those foundational core elements, right? That foundation of reason, of building the temple. This is our science. This is how we move and we share and build in community. And this is about that center community getting out of this futile energy of overthinking and going back to that reasoned approach of listening to perspectives. Interesting. Okay, we're now going to do our crosses. So, this disappointment energy is causing this transformation, and it's because of this reasoned approach that we're making this transformation. And it's a hard transformation. It's not easy for us, but it's a radical change. And it's a huge upgrade in terms of how we're going to approach things emotionally, right? And it's about adding reason to this. We're disappointed in some ways because we're not being rational about how we're approaching the disappointment, So we need to see this for what it is and go through the hard transformation and approach it from that reason perspective. And yeah, the reason why we have all this strife and all this futility, this disappointing energy, this energy of taking, where people are coming and drinking our cups or asking for emotional support, for help, is leading to strife, right? It's causing this kind of contrast. And then the strife is resulting in futility. It's resulting in that thinking of, this is not going to work. You can't reason with these people. They're just combative. It's strife, right? But we have to be careful. We want to rise above. We want to use that reason approach. We want to recognize that we have love to give. We want to recognize that these people are going through these deep transformational experiences, and we want to go through them too. We just want to use the reason. We want to be in that state of reasoned transformation. We want to imagine ourselves in a better light so that when we go through this process, we can learn from our mistakes through deep self-reflection, through sharing in community, overcoming these disappointments, getting out of this mental futility, going back to this reasoned approach, ending this cycle. It's come to an end. There's a loving, strong foundation here, but now it's time to bring new love in, right? Interesting. Wow. That's beautiful, guys. I hope you found that as profound as I did. Thank you so much for listening. So please, take from this what you will, and try to be that loving, caring person who can be reasonable. It's such a difficult position, and our emotions are, we're all dealing with trauma. We're all dealing with pain, especially with a lot of this kind of stuff, right? When people are talking about, like, we're in this political moment right now, where people are extremifying and they're picking sides and they're claiming things. And this is very dangerous, right? It can cause people can cause you to see a meme and not a person. And you got to recognize that people can change their opinions and let those things go, right? We want to help these princes become knights. All right, everyone, this was a beautiful reading. We're going to do one quick sword taste, and then I hope to see you guys all at MNU for our Greek class. Our good pal Old Boy will be there. So give a shout out to Old Boy. He's in the chat. I hope you guys all listen to him speak, and I hope you go and subscribe to his channel. All right. This is a beautiful line to end everything. They speak panic. They conquer from within. From within. They speak panic. They conquer from within. From within. Isn't that a beautiful line? You got to experience the all, right? And we speak on this all the time. We talk about that panic, overcoming fear. And how do we do this? How do we rise above and overcome that death? How do we become these people who can share that cup with others and overcome this disappointment? From within. This is a personal issue. Many of us have deep trauma. And this is about learning to recognize those traumas. Ask community if you need help. You got to fight those inner demons, right? Recognize where this panic is coming from. Conquer it from within. All right, everyone. Thanks again. See you all in class. Peace and love. Take care.